If you're over 60 and you reheat leftovers like most people, this video might surprise you, because some of the foods sitting in your fridge right now could become dangerous once they're reheated, even if they were totally safe the first time you ate them. But on the flip side, there are also certain foods that actually become safer, easier to digest, or more nutritious when reheated. So today, we're revealing 3 foods seniors should never reheat, and 3 you absolutely should. This list might just change the way you handle your meals forever. Hit the subscribe button and let's get started right now. Let's start with the first food you should never reheat: spinach. Spinach is packed with nutrients like iron, folate, and vitamin K, which is fantastic when it's fresh. But when you reheat spinach, especially in the microwave, something strange happens. The nitrates in spinach can convert into harmful compounds called nitrosamines. These are considered potentially carcinogenic, meaning they may raise the risk of certain cancers. That risk is especially important for seniors, who tend to have slower digestion and weaker detox systems. Now, this doesn't mean you can't enjoy spinach and leftovers. It just means you should eat it cold or at room temperature. So, if you made a spinach salad or sauteed spinach for dinner last night, try tossing the leftovers into a cold pasta salad or spreading them on whole grain toast with a poached egg. That way, you still get all the health benefits without the risk that comes from reheating. The second food you should never reheat might be in your fridge right now, and it's rice. It seems innocent enough, but here's what you may not know. Cooked rice can carry bacterial spores from a microbe called Bacillus cereus. When rice is left out too long, even after it's been cooked, these spores multiply, and reheating it won't destroy the toxins they produce. That means you could end up with food poisoning, even though the rice was steaming hot. Seniors are especially vulnerable to foodborne illness, which can hit harder and last longer. That's why leftover rice should always be cooled quickly and stored properly. If you're not sure how long it's been in the fridge, play it safe and toss it. Or better yet, make just enough rice to eat fresh. Your stomach will thank you. And now for the third food you should never reheat: eggs. Whether they're scrambled, poached, or baked into a casserole, reheated eggs can become rubbery and tough. But the bigger concern is safety. Eggs are high in protein, and once cooked, that protein starts to break down. Reheating them, especially in the microwave, can cause chemical changes that not only make them harder to digest, but also increase your risk of stomach upset. Plus, if eggs are reheated unevenly, you could miss spots that are still harboring bacteria. Instead of reheating eggs, try enjoying them fresh or turn cold, hard-boiled eggs into a delicious egg salad. Now that we've covered the 3 foods you should never reheat: spinach, rice, and eggs, it's time for some good news. There are actually foods that become healthier, safer, or more effective when they're reheated. And for seniors, some of these foods can help improve digestion, boost nutrition, and even reduce inflammation. Let's begin with the first food you should reheat: cooked potatoes. You might be thinking, really? Aren't cold potatoes fine in a salad? Yes, but when it comes to blood sugar control and digestion, reheated potatoes have a secret benefit. When potatoes are cooked and then cooled, their starch begins to transform into something called resistant starch. That's a type of starch your body can't fully digest. But when you reheat those cooled potatoes, the resistant starch remains. Why does that matter? Because resistant starch helps feed the good bacteria in your gut, and it digests more slowly, meaning it won't spike your blood sugar the way freshly cooked potatoes can. For seniors managing diabetes or insulin resistance, this slow digesting starch can be a game changer. Just make sure you reheat potatoes thoroughly and store them properly in the fridge. The second food you should reheat is soup, particularly homemade bone broth or vegetable soup. When soup is stored overnight, the ingredients have more time to break down and release nutrients. That means your body can absorb minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium even better the second time around. Broths made with bones become more gelatinous after cooling, which is a sign that collagen has been released. Collagen is especially valuable for older adults because it helps with joint health, skin elasticity, and gut lining repair. When reheated, these soups regain their warmth and soothing comfort while delivering more nutritional value than you might expect. Just be sure to reheat soup on the stove or in the microwave until it's piping hot to kill off any potential bacteria. The third food you should definitely reheat: legumes like lentils, black beans, and chickpeas. Beans are one of the healthiest foods for seniors, offering plant-based protein, fiber, and a host of minerals. But they can be tough to digest when eaten fresh or undercooked. When you cook them, store them, and then reheat them, the starches become more tolerable and easier on the digestive tract. Reheated beans can also develop a richer flavor and smoother texture, which makes them perfect for soups, stews, or mixed into salads. Plus, they're great for keeping your cholesterol in check and your gut microbiome happy. Now, you know which 3 foods you should never reheat and 3 you should, but we're not done yet. In the next section, we'll go deeper into how to reheat food safely, what methods are best, and the most common mistakes seniors make when handling leftovers. You'll be surprised by how many illnesses and discomforts come from small reheating errors, ones that are easy to fix with a few simple rules. Ready to dive in? Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: how you reheat your food. Because even if you're reheating the right kinds of meals, doing it the wrong way can still put your health at risk. And for seniors, those risks go up dramatically. As we age, our immune systems slow down. Our digestion slows too. That means our bodies can't fight off bacteria as quickly or recover from foodborne illness as easily. So, making a few smart changes to the way you warm up leftovers can mean the difference between a healthy meal and a stomachache that lasts all day. The first rule of safe reheating is simple: heat thoroughly and evenly. Microwaves can be convenient, but they don't always heat food evenly. That creates hot spots and cold spots. Bacteria loves cold spots. That's why you should stir halfway through reheating. And don't just trust that the outside is hot. Check the center of your food before eating. If it's not steaming all the way through, it's not ready yet. Next, be mindful of how long food sits at room temperature. Let's say you have leftover soup on the stove and forget to refrigerate it for a few hours. Even if you boil it later, that soup could still contain heat-resistant toxins from bacteria that had time to grow. As a rule of thumb, food should never sit out longer than 2 hours. 1 hour if your home is particularly warm. After that, bacteria multiply fast. Another tip: reheat food only once. Every time you cool and reheat a meal, the risk of bacterial growth increases. So if you're not going to eat all your leftovers, portion them out ahead of time. Only reheat what you plan to eat. That keeps the rest of your food safer and fresher. Also, consider the method you're using. For foods like soups, stews, and beans, reheating on the stove is usually best. You get more even heat, and you can stir as you go. For casseroles, baked dishes, or anything with eggs and dairy, the oven works better than the microwave. It takes a little longer, but the risk of uneven cooking goes way down. And for meats, a skillet with a splash of broth or water can bring them back to life without drying them out. Don't forget, your refrigerator plays a role too. Leftovers should go into the fridge within 2 hours in shallow containers so they cool evenly. Don't store large pots of soup or piles of rice all in one deep bowl. That takes too long to chill and creates pockets where bacteria can thrive. Finally, label your leftovers. If you don't remember when you made that dish, you probably shouldn't eat it. Most cooked foods last about 3 to 4 days in the fridge. After that, toss it. It's not worth the risk. In our next section, we'll explore how all this ties into digestion, especially for seniors with gut sensitivities or conditions like IBS, acid reflux, or slow motility. Because what happens after you eat is just as important as what you put on your plate. Now, let's shift our focus to something just as important as safety and digestion: nutrition. Because when it comes to reheating food, you're not just changing the temperature, you're changing the nutrient profile. Some foods lose their value after reheating, while others actually become more beneficial. And knowing the difference can help you hold on to the vitamins and minerals your body needs most as you age. Let's start with what you can lose. Certain vitamins, especially vitamin C and many B vitamins, are heat sensitive. That means when you cook and then reheat foods that are rich in these nutrients, like spinach, bell peppers, or broccoli, you lose a significant portion of their original benefit. For example, reheating spinach might strip away its folate and vitamin C, which are both essential for energy, immune health, and brain function. That's why it's better to eat those types of vegetables fresh, lightly cooked, or even cold the next day in a salad. But it's not all bad news. Some nutrients become more available when food is reheated. Lycopene, found in tomatoes, actually increases with heat. So if you have leftover tomato soup or a pasta sauce that's been refrigerated and then warmed again, you're likely getting a more concentrated dose of this powerful antioxidant. Lycopene helps protect your cells from damage and may reduce the risk of heart disease, two key concerns for seniors. Another example, carrots. When you cook and reheat carrots, their beta-carotene becomes easier to absorb. Beta-carotene converts to vitamin A, which is critical for vision, immune health, and skin. As long as you're not cooking the life out of them, reheated carrots can be a great way to support your body, especially when they're included in stews or soups, where the nutrients stay in the broth. Now, what about protein? Many seniors worry about getting enough. The truth is, some protein-rich foods like legumes, lean meats, and tofu hold up well to reheating, if done properly. They may lose a bit of texture or flavor, but their protein remains mostly intact. The key is to avoid overheating or cooking them too long, as this can toughen the proteins and make them harder to digest. Then there are fiber-rich foods like beans and whole grains. These often retain or even improve their nutritional value after being reheated. Cooked brown rice, quinoa, lentils. These all develop resistant starch when cooled and then warmed again, which not only supports blood sugar control but also keeps your gut bacteria thriving. But here's a tip. When you reheat meals, always add a splash of water, broth, or a squeeze of lemon at the end. Not only does it enhance flavor, it also helps preserve nutrients and makes your food easier to digest. Coming up, we'll talk about portion control, meal planning for the week, and how to safely prepare meals ahead of time without risking your health. This is where we tie it all together. Let's talk about meal planning and portion control, two habits that become more important with age. If you're reheating food regularly, chances are you're cooking in batches, and that's a great idea. Batch cooking can save time, reduce food waste, and make healthy eating easier. But if you're not storing and portioning your meals correctly, all that effort could be working against you. The first thing to remember is that smaller portions reheat better and more safely. When you reheat a large container of soup, stew, or casserole, it's harder to get the temperature right all the way through. You might end up with food that's steaming hot on the outside but cold in the center. That's exactly where bacteria can survive. Instead, portion your meals into individual containers right after cooking. Let them cool slightly on the counter, no more than 30 minutes, then put them in the fridge or freezer immediately. Another reason to portion your meals? You're less likely to overeat. As we get older, our metabolism slows. Our bodies don't need quite as many calories, but we still need the nutrients. Pre-portioning meals keeps you from going back for seconds out of habit. It also makes it easier to track how much protein, fiber, and healthy fat you're getting in each meal. Now, what's the best way to reheat those portions? For soups, stews, and anything liquid-based, the stovetop is king. It heats evenly and lets you stir. For casseroles and baked dishes, the oven works best. If you're using the microwave, use a microwave-safe lid or cover to trap steam. That keeps your food moist and helps it heat more evenly. Here's another tip. When you freeze meals, use flat, shallow containers or even freezer bags. Lay them flat so they freeze quickly and thaw evenly. Always label them with the date and contents. That way you don't have mystery meals hiding in your freezer for months. Most cooked meals last 2 to 3 months in the freezer. After that, the taste and texture decline and the risk of spoilage goes up. You might also consider creating a leftover schedule. Designate 1 or 2 days each week to eat up the leftovers in your fridge. That way, nothing gets forgotten. You rotate meals regularly, and you avoid the temptation to reheat the same food more than once. Let's not forget hydration. Reheated foods, especially those made from grains or meats, can become dry or heavy. Adding a glass of water, a bowl of broth, or a juicy fruit like orange or watermelon on the side helps your digestion and keeps your energy steady. Here's the most important thing to remember. Your food habits in this stage of life don't have to be complicated, but they do have to be intentional. Reheating meals isn't just a matter of convenience anymore. It's about safety, digestion, and making sure your body gets what it truly needs to stay strong, sharp, and energized. For seniors, every bite counts. And the way we handle leftovers is often the hidden difference between a nourishing meal and a slow decline in energy, immunity, and gut health. Think about it. When you eat something reheated, you're trusting that it was stored safely, handled properly, and warmed with care. One little misstep, leaving food out too long, microwaving the wrong type of dish, eating something that sat in the fridge too long, can trigger a cascade of problems, fatigue, bloating, even food poisoning. And at our age, those problems don't just pass in a day or two, they linger, they add up. But now you know how to prevent it. You know which foods to reheat for better digestion and energy, and which ones to avoid because they can turn toxic or cause inflammation. You've learned how to store leftovers, how to portion them out, how to reheat them without destroying nutrients. You even have a sample plan to make the whole process easy and sustainable. So here's your next step. Take a look in your fridge today. What's been in there longer than 3 or 4 days? Toss it. What could you portion out better next time? Make a note. What foods do you keep reheating that leave you feeling worse afterward? That might be your body asking you to try something different, because food is more than fuel. For seniors, it's medicine, it's protection, it's healing. And sometimes it's a red flag when it's not handled with care. If you've made it this far into the video, you clearly care about your health. So here's a simple challenge. The next time you batch cook or reheat a meal, take 1 extra minute to check everything: the temperature, the storage date, the texture. Your body will thank you for it. And if you found this helpful, tap the subscribe button now. We've got more easy, no-fluff health tips coming every single week, specifically made for people just like you who want to stay informed, stay strong, and stay ahead of their health. And thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the next video on the screen now. You're just one good choice away from a better day.